It begins long before the sun rises. While the streets are silent and the world is still asleep, one man is already awake. The alarm rings. He turns it off before it wakes anyone else. No hesitation. No snooze button. He quietly gets out of bed, walks into the kitchen, and starts another morning that looks almost identical to the last. Most people would assume he's simply an early bird. Someone who enjoys mornings. Someone who likes coffee before sunrise. But psychology suggests there may be much more happening beneath the surface. Why do some men wake up before everyone else, even when they don't have to? Why do they choose silence over sleep, darkness over comfort, and solitude over another hour in bed? The answer isn't always discipline. Sometimes it's identity. You've probably known someone like this. Maybe it was your father, your grandfather, a coach, a military veteran, or maybe it's you. Before everyone else opens their eyes, he has already planned his day, made his coffee, read the news, taken a walk, finished a workout. It's almost as if the morning belongs only to him. And in many ways, it does. Psychologists often describe the early morning as a time with fewer distractions and lower mental noise. There are no phone calls, no traffic, no endless notifications demanding attention. For many men, those quiet hours become the only part of the day they truly control. Think back to a young boy growing up in a busy household. The television is always on. People are talking. Doors are opening and closing. There's never a moment of peace. One morning, he wakes up before everyone else. For the first time, the house is silent. He hears birds outside, the sound of the coffee maker, the wind through the trees. No arguments, no pressure, no expectations, just peace. Without realizing it, his brain begins connecting early mornings with emotional safety. Years later, that feeling never leaves. He still wakes before sunrise, not because someone tells him to, because it's the only time the world feels quiet enough to hear himself think. For many men, waking up early isn't about productivity. It's about protection. The morning becomes a private space where nobody needs anything from them. No emails, no responsibilities, no conversations. Just a few precious moments that belong entirely to them. Ironically, many of these men spend the rest of their day taking care of everyone else, providing for their families, helping co-workers, solving problems, making difficult decisions. By waking up first, they're giving themselves something they rarely receive later: time. Psychologists have found that having a sense of personal control is strongly connected to emotional well-being. Even small moments where people feel in charge of their environment can reduce stress and improve resilience. That's exactly what early mornings provide. A feeling that, before the demands of life begin, this moment is still yours. But there can also be another reason. Some men don't wake up early because they want to. They wake up because they can't stay asleep. Stress, responsibility, financial pressure, unfinished conversations. The brain keeps working even while the body tries to rest. They check the clock. 4:37 a.m. They close their eyes again. 5 minutes later, they're still thinking. Eventually, they give up. They make coffee. They sit quietly in the darkness. To everyone else, it looks like discipline. Sometimes, it's simply a mind that never stopped working. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with responsibilities. You go to sleep wearing it. You wake up wearing it. The weight never disappears. You just become stronger at carrying it. That's the reality for many men. The world often praises them for being dependable, reliable, strong, but very few people ask how heavy that backpack has become. Early mornings can become the only time they quietly set it down, just for a little while. That's why you'll often find these men sitting alone on a porch, watching the sunrise. Not because they're waiting for something, because for a few peaceful minutes, they're not being pulled in 10 different directions. They're simply existing. And sometimes, that's enough. For some men, those early hours become something sacred. Not because they're trying to escape life, but because it's the only moment that truly belongs to them. The rest of the day is filled with expectations. People need answers. Decisions have to be made. Problems have to be solved. Someone is always asking for their attention. But before sunrise, no one is asking for anything. It's just him, his thoughts, and the quiet. Imagine standing beside a lake before dawn. The water is perfectly still. You can finally see your reflection clearly. Now imagine throwing rocks into that lake all day long. The surface becomes impossible to read. The mind works the same way. The quieter the environment, the easier it becomes to understand yourself. That's why many men think most clearly before everyone else wakes up. Not because they're smarter, because there's finally enough silence to hear their own thoughts. Research in psychology suggests that periods of uninterrupted solitude can improve emotional regulation, reflection, and problem-solving. Without constant stimulation, the brain has space to organize memories, process emotions, and prepare for the day ahead. But there's another side to waking up early. Sometimes, it's not peace that's pulling a man out of bed. It's worry, the mortgage, his children's future, his aging parents, the bills sitting on the kitchen counter, questions without answers. Many men carry responsibilities they never talk about. Not because they want sympathy, because they believe that's simply what they're supposed to do. So while everyone else sleeps peacefully, their minds begin solving tomorrow's problems before tomorrow even arrives. From the outside, it looks like discipline. On the inside, it can feel like survival. That's why you should never assume you know why someone wakes up before sunrise. Two men may follow the exact same routine. One wakes early because he loves the quiet. The other wakes early because anxiety won't let him sleep. The habit looks identical. The reason couldn't be more different. This is something psychology reminds us of again and again. Behavior tells us what people do, but it doesn't always tell us why they do it. The strongest-looking person in the room may also be carrying the heaviest thoughts. The calmest face may belong to the busiest mind. If you're someone who wakes up before everyone else, ask yourself one simple question. When I wake up early, am I running toward peace or running away from worry? The answer matters, because one restores your energy, the other slowly steals it. If your mornings bring you clarity, protect them. Keep reading, keep walking, keep watching the sunrise. Those quiet moments are valuable. But if your mornings are filled with racing thoughts, constant pressure, and worries you never share, remember this: strength isn't carrying every burden alone. Sometimes, the strongest thing a man can do is admit that even he needs rest, not just for his body, but for his mind. Because waking up before everyone else may help you stay ahead of the world. But true peace comes when you no longer feel like you have to carry the entire world by yourself. There's one final lesson hidden inside these early mornings. The world often celebrates men who wake up early. The headlines praise discipline, success, productivity, wake up at 5 a.m., own the morning, win the day. But very few people ask a more important question. What kind of life are you waking up for? Because waking up early means very little, if every day feels empty. Imagine climbing a mountain. Every morning, you wake up before sunrise. You climb higher. You push yourself harder. You never miss a day. Then one afternoon, you reach the top, only to realize it was the wrong mountain. Discipline without direction can quietly become another form of routine. That's why purpose matters just as much as consistency. The healthiest men don't simply wake up early. They wake up with intention, not to impress anyone, not to prove they're stronger than everyone else, but because they know exactly why they're getting out of bed. And purpose doesn't have to be extraordinary. Sometimes it's providing for your family. Sometimes it's becoming healthier. Sometimes it's simply becoming a little wiser than you were yesterday. Small purposes, repeated consistently, create meaningful lives. There's also something beautiful about watching the world wake up. The first rays of sunlight, the empty streets slowly filling with life. The sound of birds replacing silence. Every sunrise carries the same quiet reminder. Yesterday is over. Today is another chance. No matter how difficult yesterday was, the morning never asks you to be perfect. It simply invites you to begin again. Maybe that's why so many men find comfort in sunrise. It reminds them that every day starts the same way, with possibility. If you're someone who wakes before everyone else, don't waste those moments rushing toward the next responsibility. Take a breath. Notice the silence. Listen to the world before it becomes noisy. Give yourself permission to simply exist for a few minutes. Because those quiet mornings aren't just preparing you for work, they're preparing you for life. And if you're not an early riser, that's perfectly okay. This isn't really about the clock. It's about creating moments where your mind can slow down, where you can hear your own thoughts, where life isn't pulling you in every direction at once. Whether that happens at sunrise, during a quiet evening walk, or while sitting alone with a cup of coffee, the principle remains the same. Every person needs a moment that belongs only to them, a moment without pressure, without expectations, without performance. Because the strongest men aren't defined by the hour they wake up. They're defined by how they show up for themselves and for the people they love. So the next time you see a man sitting quietly before sunrise, don't assume he's simply awake earlier than everyone else. He may be preparing for another difficult day, searching for peace, reflecting on his life, or simply enjoying the only part of the day that still feels completely his. And perhaps that's the real psychology behind men who wake up before everyone else. They're not always chasing success. Sometimes they're simply protecting the quiet that helps them remain themselves before the rest of the world asks them to be everything else.